Breaking news, Ohio State falls to Indiana 13-10 on Saturday in the Big Ten championship game out in Indy. One of the things that I talked a lot about last week, Bob, and even when I did the Fan Sports Saturday with Reeser this past weekend, was Ohio State rarely gets outplayed in the second half of games. And it's been that way during most of Day's tenure, but they seem to make the right adjustments. And they were outscored 7-0 here in the second half of this game, which, also just even on the score part, it rarely happens. Ohio State gets outscored in the second half of games, especially games like this. I know it's happened against Michigan a couple times. It happened, I believe, in Eugene last year. They may have gotten outplayed there in the second half, but by and large, they do not. And here is Ryan Day talking about learning from the loss.
Yeah, well, it's 24 days away, so when you think about it, I think it's 24 days, but right around there. I think when you look at it that way, it's a long road, and we're fresh off of this loss, so you can't just move right on, so quickly, because you got this time to kind of identify the things that didn't go well and what we got to do to get fixed. But we'll quickly flush it out, identify what those things are, and then it'll be important how we practice, because we got to keep our edge throughout the month.
A similar amount of days off, right, from last year, from Michigan to the first playoff game, correct?
That sounds about right, because last year you didn't have the Big Ten championship.
Right.
You played like the 18th, 19th, 20th-ish again that time. And then, this year you played an extra week, but you get an extra week plus. Yeah. So maybe it's a little more, but it's comparable, I would say.
And I would say that that's probably the fact that that's happened that way. They don't have to play next week, or they don't have to play in a month and a half or whatever. Like the fact
that
it
gives you time to sit there and look at it, like Ryan said. Like Michigan last year. I mean, you had to stew in that. They had the meeting. You have to kind of figure some things out. I mean, it'll be a little uneasy here this week over at the Woody Hayes as they're trying to find solutions to some of the problems that occurred on Saturday night, some issues that maybe they didn't know they had.
Day also talked about that last drive of the first half, when it seemed like Ohio State, if they could have gotten something done there, it could have changed the way the game would play out going forward. Here's Ryan Day on that last drive.
Yeah, I thought that was absolutely the right thing to do. What you're trying to do is win the middle eight there, and you want to get that thing down to 2 minutes, and we still have 3 timeouts left. So it wasn't a time management issue as much as it was we had to get the first down, because if we had gone faster and not converted on that, then we would have given them more time to come down and score. So the number one goal was to end with the ball or points. Now, that being said, we also wanted to convert on third down so that we had an opportunity to get points. But, if we're not going to convert on third down, we don't want to give them the ball with any time, certainly when we had the ball coming out of halftime. So I think all the analytics would tell you that that's the right play, especially with 3 timeouts left. But we got to convert. And if we don't convert, then it doesn't matter. So that's the bottom line. And we spend a lot of time thinking about that and making sure we're putting our guys in the best position to win that middle eight.
If Ryan Day could have taken something back from the game, like I wish we wouldn't have, or would run this play differently, or run a different play here in this situation. Do you think there was a moment where he's like, you know what, I wish we would have done this differently at this point?
Well, what he's saying there, people get upset about it, but when you have 2 minutes left and you're in your own territory, if you go 3 and out and burn 18 seconds off, you're putting your defense back on the field.
Right.
And that's not a good thing. And that's what he's talking about there is, usually you run the first set until you get a first down. Then as soon as you get a first down, you start going fast. But if you don't, you want to make sure that you're not giving the ball back to the opposition. You don't want them to score points. You would like to score points, but net neutral is far better than a net loss. And so he was trying to balance that, and they just couldn't get anything going. Indiana up front, their ability to move around and disrupt our offensive line. I have not seen the offensive line play that bad this entire year. And I think they've given up 6 sacks all season. They gave up 5 in this game. And we're never really able to get the running game going in a big way. So those are 2 things that had never really happened. And all that was caused by the pressure of Indiana up front. Some by their D-line and then some by the blitzing linebackers.
Do you think it was, and I have a feeling I know what your answer is going to be, but I'll ask anyways. Is it more about Indiana's ability up front or Ohio State's line falling short?
Indiana's a good team. Like, I'm not going to besmirch them. Like, with what they are. Like they're a good team. If Ohio State plays well, they win that game. I mean, they almost won the game without playing all that well. You got to be able at some point to make a field goal, and then you've got to get points when you're in the red zone. But defensively, they played well enough to win. Yeah, you'd like to get stopped and be able to get the ball back and things at the end. Like, I get all that. You go up to everybody's criticizing the slot phase. I mean, it's a very difficult play to defend, especially when you're trying to stop the run and like you're just trying to get off the field and you got to start bringing pressure and things that happen in coverage. But you gave up 13 points. I said it, I think, coming into this game. I mean, if they score 17, they win. Like, and that's been the case all year. Yeah. They got 10. And they had other opportunities to put more points out there. You've got to be able to convert.
Dan Galley puts out there 21 days last year for the break, 25 this year before their next game. So here was Ryan Day talking about the defense.
No, defense played well. I mean, in my opinion, well enough to win, but at the end of the day, our goal is to win. And so I know that, they want to make a few more plays to win, but it's team football. And, the bottom line at the end of the day, we didn't score 2 touchdowns or 2 trips into the red zone. Two drives down there, we come away with nothing at the end of the game. And you get a field goal, you're in overtime. You get 2 field goals, you probably win the game. You score 1 touchdown, you win the game. But that's football. You do or you don't, and we didn't get it done. And so we can take a look at all the different plays that went on down there and the singular plays, but it's the combination of everything that went on. So we got to take a hard look at it and figure out why that didn't happen. And there's a lot that goes into it, and we got to put our guys in a situation to be successful. And we have good enough players. So somewhere along the line we came up short, and that's what hurts when you come off of a game like this.
Bob, I know that I know you have a Heisman vote, but I know that there's like all this talk about Mendoza won the Heisman. Mendoza should win the Heisman now because he wins that game. Mendoza didn't do much against Ohio State.
He made a couple big plays.
Right, but it's not like he had this.
Yeah, he had 200 what was the number? 230.
Take a look. I can get it for you here.
I've got it pulled up. I just need to click over from the box.
222.
222.
1 touchdown.
15 of 18, 15 of 23.
Right.
I mean, nothing to write home about, but he made plays in critical moments. He had a nice ball to Surratt on the slot fade. I mean, he put the ball where it needed to go. And, yeah, I mean, nobody else did anything to win it this weekend as well. Like, right. Pavia wasn't playing, Love wasn't playing. And so this just was another data point to be able to look at. And they don't want us talking about our votes until it's fully released of who we voted for and everything. But I said that game was going to go a long way toward determining who I thought was going to win the Heisman Trophy and who I was going to be nominating at that point.
Is the deadline for today for the votes?
You had 48 hours since it was turned in. Yeah, so I think Monday. I already voted, but it was Monday at I think Monday at maybe 5. Today at 5.
Would it surprise you if someone, I'm going to ask you for your vote, I don't want you in any kind of trouble with that, but like, would it surprise you if Mendoza doesn't win? Or can you say that?
Yeah, no, I think they could. Based upon what I've seen, I mean, I think that he's definitely going to be there, and I think that he is the favorite at this point. And so to say it would be surprising if he didn't win, I think that might be a little much, but yeah, I would think that he would.
Think we'll have 2 Buckeyes in New York at the ceremony?
No,
just saying.
I think saying will go, but I think that'll be it.
Okay. Here is Ryan Day talking about who they may face in the Cotton Bowl.
No, I mean, this time of year, you're going to be playing great teams, and I look at all 4 teams who have a bye. They all have monster roads to get to the playoffs. That's what you expect. So, 3 games away from winning a national championship. That's just the truth. But it's going to start with this first game against whoever we play in the Cotton Bowl, and the more Buckeyes we can get in that game will be better. If it's Miami, it's great. If it's A&M, it could be another, kind of home game for them. So the more people we can get to buy tickets early on, we got about 24 days or whatever to get going and get ahead of the crowd out there in A&M. That would go a long way. We always travel well down there, and so again, the more people we have, the better we'll be. But it'll be a great environment and against a great opponent.
What's remarkable is, like, I had booked my flight to Miami. When they came out as second, I was like, all right, you're going to send Texas Tech to the Cotton Bowl, their Big 12 champ. Obviously, Indiana to the Rose, Georgia to the Sugar. So, okay, Ohio State just logically will end up
in the Orange
Orange Bowl. And from my understanding, talking to some folks yesterday. They didn't want Miami to be playing their home arena. I'm like, their home field, like nobody goes for Miami anyway.
Right.
So I would have rather played in Miami.
And I'll tell you this. Aggies fans are going to show up because those people care a great deal about Texas A&M football.
And this is their first time in the playoff.
Yeah.
They're going to be fired up.
Yeah.
It is. There'll be probably more Aggies fans there than there were Texas fans. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. And I was like, all right, I booked my flight, held it, and I've got my one held to Dallas today. I was doing the rankings reaction show or the selection show for XM. I was like, oh, this is great. I'll be able to get a flight to Texas for half as much. I could not get booked. It took me a half an hour, and because they kept kicking me out of the American as I was trying to book, as the flights just kept going up, seats kept going away. And eventually I told my co-host, I was like, hey, just take this. I called. And I called the Advantage desk. I'm like, hey, I want to get this flight. I'm like, all right, well, it costs $400 more than it should have the day if I would have got it a half hour prior, but was able to get it done, thankfully, and get that all reserved and taken care of down there. But it's going to be a lot of Aggies fans there, to say the least.
I was like you, Bob. I was looking at it, and I said, yeah, this is what's going to happen now. Ohio State's going to be in the Orange Bowl. Just because, the conference affiliation thing, they want to have, obviously, Indiana, the Big Ten team in the Rose Bowl. You want to have SEC. You want to have Georgia there playing in the Sugar Bowl. So, it made perfect sense to me. I was just as shocked that Ohio State was in the Orange Bowl there. Here is, by the way, the ticket allotment. I don't know if you have any knowledge on this or not, but wasn't it different this year for the Big Ten championship than it's been in years past?
They cut it back significantly.
And that was a conference decision.
Yes. And I told one of the guys, I told one of the people at the conference, who's like Tony's right-hand girl, I go, listen, this stuff's going to start changing. I go, I know that Ross and President Carter are not happy about all the stuff that's going on. I go, if this was Iowa and Oregon, you wouldn't be cutting people back. You'd be forcing them to take the tickets because of it. So I'm done with this nonsense. Yeah,
there's people I know that are like long-time season ticket holders and big-time donors and things like that.
You got to be in the top two tiers to get tickets.
Yeah. So how will it work for this? Who makes the decision? Is it the bowl? Is it the NCAA?
The bowl makes the decision on this.
Okay.
Not the NCAA. NCAA has nothing to do with it. The bowl makes the decision on the ticket allotments of what goes out. I would think that this would be more traditional. It's a bigger stadium. And whatever one team gets, the other gets. They're the same.
Yeah.
And so I think that they'll probably be kind of consistent to what it's normally been.
Ryan Day was asked who's going to call the plays in the playoffs. Here's his response.
Yeah. So Brian was calling it, but we're all involved. All of us. We try to give as much input as we can, and try to organize the thoughts and try to help the best we can, and we'll continue to do that. I do think having more time to prepare for this game will allow us to be more efficient. There's no question about that. But Brian calls the plays, and we'll continue to call the plays. But we're going to have everybody involved with it, and it's a group effort.
The fact that Hartline, and I'm not accusing his time being taken away from Ohio State to focus on South Florida at all, but is the fact that he now does have that responsibility with the new school coming up, does that change anything, do you think, with how much Day has a say in the play caller, what he says, how much control he takes?
Well, it's a conversation that's being had, but I don't know if that matters. It's the preparation of putting the plays together. When you get down to the situation in game, it's usually you're choosing somewhere between 3 and 5 plays on any given down based upon the situation of what you want to do and where you're at on the field. So, yeah, there is some conversation about that. I don't know if it'll change all that significantly moving forward, maybe some more. But in the preparation, Brian's got other stuff going on. I'm sure he'll be fully invested in this, but there may be just differing responsibilities divided up according to the how they'll develop that game plan, if you will.
Yeah, I wonder how that will work. I'm curious to see how that will play out, if there'll be a big change. Just because, not only because Hartline now has another job, but also the fact that they had their worst offensive performance just now, and so I'm not saying they're related, but I think it's something that the decision on how the plays are called probably comes under more scrutiny now than it would have a week ago.
Yeah, Because people naturally are going to think that there's they're going to think that there's an issue with, Bryant's commitment or whatever it is. Like that's I don't know. I could understand where people would see that. If Ryan saw this as any type of deviation from Brian's ability to help get this done, then I think that, he may draw back some of that responsibility. Maybe that's a conversation that ultimately happens. I'm not sure. But I think he feels pretty confident right now of what they're able to do.
Play one more from Ryan here on how this year's loss compares to last year's loss to Michigan.
Every year is different. Every situation is different. This is one where, we played against a very, very good team. It was 1 versus 2, and they were undefeated. And, we feel like we sort of let it get away by not scoring late in the game. And I think that's kind of how everybody feels, And, again, you got to give Indiana credit. I'm not doing that. But, at the same time, we know what we're capable of, and that didn't happen. So, again, we got to get back to work and figure out why that happened. I think there's still a bunch of guys in this room that know we can play with anybody in the country and beat anybody in the country when we're on our game. But it's a hard reminder that when you're not on your game, you put yourself at risk, and that's exactly what happened.
There's been very few times, Bob, where I've watched an Ohio State team in the last 20 years, and I was like, oh, there's no way in hell Ohio State can beat this team. It happened in the Cotton Bowl against Missouri. It felt early on like there's no way Ohio State's going to win this game. I never felt that way in this game, and I echo Ryan's sentiments there that I think if they play them again and Ohio State plays to their capabilities, they get the dub.
Yeah, I think that's 100% correct. And I said that coming in. If Ohio State plays a clean game, they win. They threw an interception, which led to 3 points. You missed a couple of field goals. You failed on a 4th down conversion. Now, you didn't overtly turn it over and look overly sloppy, but didn't do a good job protecting up front. You couldn't get the run game going where you wanted to. And because of all of those things together, you're going to have a hard time beating a really good football team. And Indiana's a really good football team. They're undefeated. They're the number 1 ranked team in the country. They were the number 2 team coming in. It wasn't a fake number beside their name. I know people think that because it's Indiana. They're a good football team. They may not have the wealth of blue chip talent that Ohio State has, but they play really well. They're really well coached. They don't make mistakes, and they force you to beat them. And Ohio State wasn't efficient enough to be able to do that on Saturday.
I think I have finally changed my way of thinking with Indiana. Because even up until that game started, I was still looking at that helmet and saying there's no way this team is as good as Ohio State.
It's hard not to.
But I think I've finally been
when the recruiting rankings, we analyze this stuff for 12 months out of the year.
Yeah.
And it's how many 5-stars do they have? Okay, how many does Ohio State have?
Right.
You look at the draft picks over the years. It's hard not to. I don't blame you.
But I think that Saturday night finally may have convinced me of it that Indiana is a really good football team. So I'm last of the party, probably. One of the last of the party, I think.
It's okay. I mean, people. That's the way people look at it, and they see it, and they're like, "Wow, it's Indiana." It's like, well, it is, but just take the decal off. They're a really good football team. They play really hard. Their guys are they don't have a ton of top flight NFL guys, but they have a lot of really good college football players and guys that will play in the NFL, especially at the receiver position. Their defense plays really hard. They run the ball really hard. They don't make mistakes. They're fast. They do a lot of good things. And because of that, they force you to beat them.
Yeah, it's they've done it they've been smart about the way they've done it. They've dipped into the transfer portal to get the quarterbacks each of the last 2 years, and it's paid out huge for them, paid off huge dividends for them. I wonder, Bob, I saw also on The Athletic about quarterbacks that when they decide to leave early, go to the NFL, and will we see more quarterbacks, Mendoza, I think, could stick around for another year. Right, yeah, he could stick around for a year. So, would it behoove Mendoza to take another year of NIL money or some of these quarterbacks? He's going to be a
top 5 pick.
So it makes no sense to come back.
His brother's the backup.
Yeah. I wonder if with the NIL stuff now, though, if you'll see more quarterbacks, though, who are on the fence.
Will, but he's not on the fence. He's not a fence guy. This
Right.
isn't Quinn Ewers. This isn't somebody who is going to maybe be drafted in the middle rounds. He's going to be a first-round quarterback. He has played a lot of college football.
You think Keenholz is quarterback in South Florida next year?
I don't know.
Oh,
I think he's somewhere. I don't know if it's there
question.
or not.
Yeah, I wonder about that. It's a hell of a way to end a segment there with that kind of cliffhanger there. Who shot JR, Bob? Coming up next, we will talk more about the CFP.